The Rwandan genocide against the Tutsis in 1994 is one of the most egregious crimes against humanity. In my opinion, that has been perpetrated by the Hutu extremists. Other than that, in addition, or perhaps equally, even more than the government and the extremists themselves, the European powers, France and Belgium, in my opinion, must have had a completely direct role in instigating and tacitly or otherwise inflaming the organized genocide that claimed the lives of over 1 million Rwandans, mostly Tutsis and moderate Hutus. Yes, Rwanda has survived. The country has not only survived, but it has flourished. But the price it paid to become what it is now, the lives of over 1 million men, women, and children. The atrocities committed are unimaginable. Like one can't even not contemplate the cruelty. These animals opened the skulls of babies in front of their parents. Some snatched 9-month-old infants from the arms of the mothers, throwing them to the wall like a rock in a swing while the mother is watching. I call them animals because whoever is or calls themselves a human being and kills, maims, and tortures other human being is, in my opinion, an animal, regardless of their nature. While these young people who have been extremely agitated by the extremist elements of the Hutu government, as much as I would not like to call it that, because today Rwandans, I learned, are one united people, but it was what it was then.
On the evening of April 6, 1994, the president's plane was destroyed in midair by 2 missiles, setting Rwanda ablaze.
The Minister of Defense is deeply saddened to announce to the
Right after the plane that was carrying Jubilant Habyarimana, the government that took over immediately executed the prime minister and the family and 10 Belgian peacekeepers who protected her and tried to save her family from the murderers. Right after that, the rampage of indiscriminate massacre got into full swing and continued unabated for the next 100 more days. Exhibiting extreme cruelty the world probably never ever has seen fell upon Rwanda as a country. Thousands of Tutsis ran from their homes and took shelter in a stadium. The story goes, when the killing started to unfold, those Interahamwe young people invaded the stadium shouting hateful screams and started maiming people with machetes and clubs strewn with nails. There was a whole lot of chaos and mayhem in the stadium. Victims crying in fear, the murderers screaming in bravado. But after a while, the story goes, the victims became so numb, they stopped crying, as they could not even comprehend what was befalling upon them at that time, and then they were slaughtered. One survivor remembers, children as young as 9 kneeled in front of the machete-wielding murderers and literally begged them not to be killed, saying, "Please don't kill me. I will not be Tutsi again." Even such gut-wrenching plea by children could not soften the hearts of those animals. They killed them all anyway. And the butchery never stopped.
This road where we are standing now, it was full of dead bodies. Tutsis being killed and thrown in the street, eaten by the dogs. On this street, the same street.
Neighbors against neighbors, friends against friends, and in some cases, family members against family members. This was done by a government that was in power in Rwanda at that time.
Throughout the genocide, this radio station played a major role.
It has all the power, the media, and everything. And what did they do? The Western powers? Nothing. They ran away. They scattered to evacuate their embassies, their staff, and their families. The situation was somehow resemblant to the Kabul flee, but this was different. I mean, the Kabul residents were running behind the airplane before taking off to save them from the upcoming cruel government of the Taliban. The Kigali residents, on the other hand, were begging the French for saving them from the knife-wielding animals just meters behind them. They rushed, giving their backs, and drove away. On the same street, only a few meters behind, machete-wielding murderers were killing people. What was the most heartbreaking thing was that the peacekeeping force deployed to evacuate the Western embassies in Kigali, just that force, I learned, was sufficient to stop the genocide. But it didn't.
On April 9th, 3 days after the attack on the plane and the first massacres around the presidential residence, Agatha Habyarimana left Rwanda.
It was too busy to save the lives of hundreds of embassy employees and their families, who were less in danger than the tens and thousands of locals and children who have been killed. After the genocide, they gave them refuge to the killers, even given money for Habyarimana's wife, who they escorted out of with their embassy staff 3 days after the massacre started, where she, per some accounts, had given orders to the presidential guard to kill her next-door neighbors, right behind the state residence. What instigated such a hatred? I mean, there could be several reasons. The main one being the colonial venom sown by the Belgians, the French, and to some extent, the Germans.
They started telling the Hutus that, are you serious, Hutus? No, Tutsis were like Ethiopians. They were from Ethiopia. They look like Ethiopians. They were tall. They created that negative factor to separate Rwandese.
The Rwandan people, the Tutsis, were being killed while being told to go back to Ethiopia. Some say the animals dumped their bodies of the innocent people they killed into a river, and they jeered while calling the river Ethiopian shipping lines or Ethiopian airlines, yelling to the dead bodies to go back to Abyssinia, where they said they came from. While all this was happening, the world's silence was deafening. Nobody seemed to care at all. People being killed, 2,000 every 20 minutes. So, especially the media reported this unimaginable barbarity perpetrated on the Tutsis, the orchestrated ethnic cleansing and the genocide as a mere tribal conflict or civil war. These extremely agitated youngsters, brainwashed with toxic propaganda the Hutu elites fed them with, went on unabated by killing people solely based on racial background or ethnicity. The horror was beyond any level of humanity's comprehension.
Throughout the country, massacre followed massacre.
Nobody was there to save the Rwandans. The Rwanda as a country that was dying. That was the situation. In the Rwandan Genocide Museum, it says, dogs started eating the rotting corpses of their owners. The ominous, detestable stench of death was hovering over the Rwandan skies. In the end, Rwanda was dead. But the Westerners living in Kigali evacuated their embassy and they ran away, taking out their families, while the knife and machete-wielding young murderers were chasing innocent civilians just behind the trucks filled with embassy evacuees right behind them. They just ran away. As you can see, there was nobody to save them because they didn't care. The radio, the press were broadcasting and publishing and pushing Hutus to flare up racist, xenophobic, and murderous rampage, and they succeeded. Apparently, the government issued 10 commandments of the Hutus on a newspaper, and as they called it, and they printed it on official newspapers. One of them said, if you buy anything from or sell anything to the Tutsis, if you get married to the Tutsis, if you lend money to the Tutsis or borrowed from the Tutsis, if you communicate with them, you are a traitor. So you should be killed or you should be punished. You should not do anything. You should not deal with any Tutsi whatsoever, in whatsoever way. That would be called a crime. And then there were 10 points they listed down for the Hutus not to do with the Tutsis. Africa and the rest of the world did not care much until such time when one brave soldier, one patriot, General Kagame, vowed to save his own people while the entire world was ignoring them. How did he pull off something so spectacular, something so meticulously planned in the unlikeliest of the situation, something amazing, something so result-oriented? Personally, it's unimaginable after I have seen it. That was mercenary government killing its own people. Around 3 months before the genocide, reports were that one Hutu businessman, apparently the richest Rwandan then, imported $3.2 million US worth of arms from France, containing what? Machetes. Please don't tell me the French government did not know that. The purpose and the destination of these knives. You can see them French running away from Kigali while what they exported got into action, in full action. You can see them even escorting extremist young fanatic killers.
No Rwandans.
What?
Foreign nationals only. Sorry, Father, those were the orders.
But you can't leave the children behind.
Sorry, Father, we have our orders.
You can't leave.
It seems that there was nobody to save. There was nobody left to save Rwanda than her own endeared son, General Kagame. Leading the Rwandan Patriotic Front, as they call them, RPF, he committed to save his people with what? 600 brave soldiers in an elaborate and extremely well-prepared plan of action, not just to topple the Hutu extremists from power and stop the genocide once and for all, but also to save Rwanda as a country. And so he did, with an amazing resilience, resolve, commitment, bravery, and sacrifice. 600 soldiers it was. I'd like to borrow Winston Churchill's famous saying, if you let me, as I feel it fits the situation. Never in the history of warfare in Africa has so much been owed by so many to so few. Kagame and his 600 soldiers in the end saved Rwanda. That was what happened. More so, Rwanda today has resurrected, becoming one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. Kigali becoming one of the cleanest and most orderly cities in Africa, if not in the world, and a very tranquil city with enviable serenity hovering over its skies. Beautiful scenery, very kind people, polite people. Rwanda has resurrected in an unlikeliest of probabilities against sinister wishes of its foes and the wildest expectation of its friends. Rwanda came out of that unimaginable misery and the worst massacre in the 20th century, amazingly. The price it paid, 1.1 million people, yes, innocent people, and their crime being one ethnicity, or even if on the other ethnicity, marrying or agreeing to live in harmony with one another.
Have you ever got the chance to visit the Tutsi Genocide Memorial?
Yeah, I did. Yesterday we spent half a day going through the museum and the memorial, and it was really touching. It was just like going to a Holocaust museum in DC. Pretty much the same topics, people being cruel to other people, how the whole thing started out with quota systems and only to end up in genocide. For me, the hardest part was looking at the kids. It was very, very hard for me to look at that. And there's no need for that. I mean, that's my conclusion. There's no need. People can live with their differences, but when you stress differences, there's no end to it. And violence pursues. And it's a terrible end.
What did you feel when you saw those things?
I was there.
What was the feeling that you had?
I was in shock, like I said, especially the one with the children. I mean, here they show you the historical perspective, how the colonial powers from Belgium to France and so on essentially led the people to, some false premises that one was superior to the other, one was a majority to the other, and all that jazz. And eventually, they ended up in violence, only to kill over 1 million people in a short period of time. And their experience, I mean, if you don't cry there,
it's hard.
Yeah, it's a human being has to have tears when they see that, and it's a lesson for all humanity. It's people can be nice and also cruel
at the same time.
At the same time, and to a big extent. And then there were some heroes as well. That's the beauty of the story. And I like the hero part, but it's also a reminder for everybody else. That you'll be tested in life, and you have to respond accordingly.
True.
Genocide doesn't help anybody.
Basically, when you hear the name Rwanda, it's synonymous with genocide. Everything, a minute you say Rwanda, the genocide comes. And when you are physically there, you can see a lot of things. One is how people could be cruel to kill those people in mass without age restriction. And the second thing is people who could have helped actually helped them to get killed. And then this happened actually from the priestess to and so on. And then the international community also keeping silent. Some way actually, I didn't know the French were a silent partner in this. So that was a horrible experience. And when you see in detail, the first part of the visit, it tells you the Hutu government has this thing called quota by population size, so which is a dangerous thing. And I think that quota system, because we're majority, we deserve to have this.
More rights?
More rights, more power, more economic advantage. And then they resorted into eliminating the minority. So this is a dangerous precedence for any community.
True.
Who claims that I deserve this. So that's actually what I picked from that, which could be a learning experience for us. So the rest is very horrible. I mean, you can see the pictures, but at the end of it, there are bones. And I was watching the bones. The skull was cracked open with anything. So that's a horrible experience. And you can see also the mass grave. What we heard in the news is in thousands, 100,000. In actuality, it's millions. So it's I don't know, next to the Holocaust from Germany, Rwanda is a big thing. But this should be a very good learning experience for any society, any community. Especially that quota part bothered me too much.
True,
the claim that I'm majority, I deserve everything.
Before the Rwandan genocide, the only country in the world where race or ethnicity was indicated on a national ID was Rwanda. And it was quite so simple and easy because Rwandans spoke the same language, the Hutus and the Tutsis, albeit occasionally some clashes over grazing land or cattle breeding grounds. They lived in harmonious existence. Until the Belgians came and injected this crazy ideology of classifying people along their ethnicity and sowing the seeds of bitter resentment, as it eventually turned out, a deadly division. When you were a Rwandan and you have an ID, it indicated explicitly whether you are Hutu or a Tutsi or another minority EO. So for those extremist thugs who have been agitated by the satanic elites in power in Rwanda or living in Europe or in other African countries, they were told all they have to do was to go there and kill people by seeing their IDs. They flared this murderous rampage by going door to door and knocking. And there is a story about this 7-year-old kid who said he's a survivor, and he said when this guy came to their house, because he knew him, because he thought he was his uncle, he was literally begging him when he saw the machete that this guy was holding on his hand, on the face of this 7-year-old kid, and hacked him anyway. Luckily, the kid survived. But imagine the trauma. Since that happened 31 years ago, the kid must now be 38. That despicable trauma he has passed through surely lingers with him. That's a national tragedy. It may take Rwanda a generation to completely get out of this and for the memory to fully fade out It's an extremely animalistic insanity and barbarity of beastly proportions. That this boy and tens of thousands of like him were forced to endure all that were led to happen because of mere indifference by the world or purposeful instigation and fanning of the flame by the Belgians and the French governments. And now they say, impose sanctions against Rwanda for whatever reason. Against Rwanda, the most stable, one of the most stable countries in Africa, one of the strongest economies in Africa, and probably one of the richest and most nicest, and most humble people you could ever come across within Africa, and they are propagating sanctions. Go to hell, said President Kagame. I'm sure he meant, never again will I let you take my country back. Never. It's not you who saved our people. It is us. So what does Africa learn from all this, especially Ethiopia? That is a difficult question to answer. Is there anything to learn from this? Absolutely. What and how? Just give it a thought. Just think about it. If the genocidal barbarity was to be quelled, if Rwanda was to be saved, it seemed it was not by the sympathy of the West, but by the bravery and resoluteness of our own children.
After all those traumatic experiences that the people have been through, now they are being the hub of different good things in Africa.
They are.
So they're really welcoming. They have a beautiful city, clean city.
Yeah.
And what do you think it is for us, especially as Ethiopians, also as Africans, that we can take in from the lesson, from this experience, from this history?
They are generous enough to create that memorial, which is a reminder for all of Africa, if not for all of the world, in the sense we have to live with our differences. We're different, and that's the beauty of it all.
Exactly.
But that should not lead us in exterminating others. We're not, nobody's superior to anybody else. I mean, it's just, that's the reality. And we should join forces to create a more harmonious world. Differences have never helped anybody. I mean, Germany is a good example. They dropped their differences, that they're superior to people and so on. And it's one of the best countries to live in.
True.
And I think all African countries, including Ethiopia, should learn from these mistakes, that you cannot play with fire and expect,
calmness,
a peaceful, peaceful end. At the end of the day, people are going to die, children are going to die, and so on. And I don't wish that to anybody. I mean, it's just, we have to learn to live with our differences.
So the amazing part is, after experiencing all these things, and then in between, even after signing the agreement and so on, people went to refugee camps and killed and actually persecuted people. Wow. So that could happen, because the thing is, the idealists, the people who crafted this program, may stop, but once you poison the low people, or
that's what you're going to
the
get.
Common people, they never stop. So that's one dangerous thing. The other thing I learned is, we saw the population, mingle with them, talk to them. They are very quiet. Actually, they speak in a low voice than Ethiopians. And like, is this the effect of the genocide, that they are so humble? They don't even see eye to you. But they forgot that. And as you can see, the city is beautiful. They
People
hosted,
are welcoming.
Yeah, welcoming. They hosted this wonderful meeting. So you can be cured. Don't get into that, but it's curable. I mean, it's conflict can be resolved, and people can progress together.
True.
Yeah, agreeing with each other. That's a big learning. This country, after experiencing that genocide, you would expect people go after them with vengeance. Even those who came with power, they didn't do vengeance. So that, what you call harboring some
forgiveness.
You can be forgiving and live together and grow together. So that's a bright light after all this.
We haven't for this trip, we haven't got any support from the embassy in Addis Ababa, Rwandan embassy. But I have to tell this, because when we were planning to travel, we contacted the embassy, we wrote a letter, we called them, we sent our people. We didn't ask for a visa, we didn't ask any for funding or for any support. We just wanted guidance on how to go to the museum, what are the requirements to visit, what are the requirements to take some photos or images. We were trying to be helped in that aspect only. And the embassy in Addis Ababa, the Rwandan embassy, completely ignored us. I'm very pleased that we have been able to manage it anyway, but I have to say this, we were disappointed. Thank you very much.